My twin brother makes six figures while I live in poverty. His response destroyed me. We share the same DNA, the same face, the same childhood memories. But while my identical twin Marcus travels the world and stacks his savings, I'm rationing groceries and praying my parents' pension checks don't bounce. The difference between us? A genetic condition that turned me into someone he barely recognizes anymore. I thought blood was thicker than water. I was wrong. Marcus and I were inseparable growing up. We finished each other's sentences, pulled the same pranks, even dated girls who were best friends. We went to the same college, got the same degree in computer science, and landed jobs at different tech companies within months of each other. For years, we were living parallel lives. Same salary bracket, same career trajectory, same future ahead of us. Then everything changed 4 years ago. I started noticing symptoms I couldn't ignore anymore. The fatigue was crushing, like my body was filled with concrete. My joints ached constantly. Some days I couldn't grip a coffee cup without pain shooting through my hands. After months of doctor's visits and tests, they found it. A rare genetic condition, progressive, degenerative, the kind that doesn't care about your plans or dreams. Within 18 months, I went from a fully functional software developer to someone who struggled to shower without exhausting myself. My employer was understanding at first, but eventually I had to leave. I burned through my savings trying to stay afloat, paid for treatments insurance wouldn't cover, kept hoping I'd bounce back. Marcus kept climbing. Promotions, bonuses, a salary that crept into six figures while mine dropped to zero. I want to be clear about something. Marcus wasn't cruel. He didn't mock me or dismiss my illness. He called occasionally, asked how I was doing, sent a text on my birthday, but he never once offered to help financially. Not when I mentioned burning through my emergency fund, not when I casually mentioned eating rice and beans for the third week straight, not when our elderly parents started slipping me money from their fixed retirement income. Meanwhile, his social media told a different story. Photos from Tokyo, videos hiking in New Zealand, posts about maxing out his retirement accounts and investment portfolio. He was living the life we both planned to live, the life my body stole from me. I know jealousy is toxic. I know comparing yourself to others is poison. But how do you not feel something when you're splitting a can of soup for dinner while your genetic duplicate is posting pictures of sushi in Kyoto? How do you silence that voice asking, why him and not me, when you share the exact same genetic code except for this one cruel mutation? I applied for disability benefits. The process is brutal. Endless paperwork, denials, appeals, waiting months for decisions. I was barely surviving on what little my parents could spare, and even that made me feel like garbage. They're in their 70s. They should be enjoying retirement, not supporting their grown son. People on another forum told me I needed to swallow my pride and ask Marcus directly, explain the situation, be vulnerable. Maybe he just didn't realize how bad things were. So I did it. I called him on a Tuesday evening. My hands were shaking. I laid it all out. No dramatics, just facts. I told him about the denial letters stacking up, about skipping meals, about the humiliation of being 38 years old and dependent on parents who can barely afford it themselves. I didn't ask for much, just something to bridge the gap until the system worked itself out. His response is burned into my memory. Look, I get that things are tough for you right now, but I worked hard for what I have. I made smart choices with my money. You need to figure out how to earn your own living instead of looking for handouts. Everyone has problems. You can't expect other people to solve them for you. Handouts. That's what he called it. Like I was some stranger asking for spare change instead of his identical twin brother who shared a womb with him. I don't remember what I said after that. The call ended. I sat on my couch in my tiny apartment and stared at the wall for hours. The person who knew me better than anyone, who grew up with the same parents teaching us the same values about family and loyalty, had looked at my drowning and decided to stay on shore. Something broke in me that night. Not just my heart, my spirit. For weeks, I existed in this fog, going through motions, filling out forms, microwaving dollar store meals, wondering if this was just my life now, if I'd spend the next 40 years scraping by, watching my twin thrive, feeling like a failure in a successful man's body. Then, one afternoon, I forced myself to take a walk. My joints were having a decent day, and I needed air that wasn't recycled through my apartment's failing ventilation system. I passed by the downtown area and saw a man outside a coffee shop. He was in a modified wheelchair, both legs gone above the knee. But he wasn't begging or looking miserable. He was doing something with his hands, some kind of intricate leather work. And he was smiling, actually smiling. People stopped to watch him work, fascinated by his skill. I stood there longer than I should have, just watching him. This man had lost more than I had. His challenges were visible, permanent, undeniable. And yet he'd found something. Purpose, income, pride. A thought hit me like cold water. What made me different from him? Why was I wallowing while he was creating? I went home and did something I hadn't done in months. I made a list, not of what I couldn't do anymore. That list was depressingly familiar. A list of what I could still do, what skills I still had, What didn't require the physical stamina I'd lost? The list was shorter than I wanted, but it existed. I started experimenting, testing limits. Some days were disasters. My body wouldn't cooperate, and I'd lose hours to pain and exhaustion. But other days, I found rhythms that worked. I discovered I could do remote consulting work in short bursts, help companies solve specific technical problems without the commitment to full-time employment. I could work from bed on bad days, take breaks when I needed them. I taught myself new skills that didn't require what I'd lost. Online tutoring for coding, technical writing, even some freelance web accessibility consulting, because who better to understand accessibility needs than someone living them? The money was inconsistent at first. Some months were better than others, but it was mine, earned by my own effort, adapted to my own limitations. 6 months after that phone call with Marcus, my disability claim finally got approved. The back payment helped clear some debts. The monthly amount wasn't much, but combined with my freelance income, I could breathe again, pay rent without panic, buy groceries without calculating every item. I'm not rich. I'm nowhere near Marcus's tax bracket, but I'm surviving on my own terms now, contributing what I can when I can. My parents stopped sending checks, which lifted a weight I didn't realize I was carrying. Marcus called last month, said he'd heard through our parents that I was doing better, asked if I wanted to grab coffee sometime. I told him I'd think about it. I'm still thinking about it. Because here's what I learned. That genetic condition took my health, my career, my old life. But Marcus took something else that day on the phone. He took my illusions about family, about loyalty, about what we owe the people we share everything with. I'm grateful for what I've built from the wreckage, proud of clawing my way back to dignity, but there's this scar now that won't heal. Every time I see his name on my phone, I remember being at my lowest point and hearing that I needed to figure it out myself. Maybe that's the real condition I'm living with now. Not the one that's destroying my joints, but the one that destroyed my trust in the person who was supposed to be my other half.
Update. I found something Marcus never will. I wasn't planning to update this. Honestly thought I'd said everything I needed to say, but something happened 3 months ago that changed the entire equation, and some of you who followed my story deserve to know. Her name is Sarah. I met her in the most unexpected place, a physical therapy waiting room. I was there for my usual appointment, and she was there supporting her elderly father after his hip replacement. We started talking because the office was running late, and there was literally nothing else to do except stare at outdated magazines or make conversation. She didn't treat me like I was broken, didn't do that thing people do where their eyes flickered to my mobility aid and then quickly away, pretending they didn't notice. She just talked to me like a person. We discussed the terrible coffee in the waiting room, complained about healthcare bureaucracy, laughed about the inspirational posters on the walls that felt more depressing than uplifting. I should mention something important. I wasn't looking for anyone. After everything with my condition, I'd convinced myself that that part of life was over. Who wants to date someone whose body is actively betraying them? Someone who has bad days where getting out of bed is an achievement. I'd internalized this belief that I had nothing to offer anymore. Sarah asked for my number, not the other way around. She asked me. Our first date was coffee at a place with good accessibility. I was terrified, spent an hour trying to figure out what to wear, how to position myself so I looked less affected by my condition than I was, practiced explanations in my head about my limitations, my financial situation, my uncertain future. I didn't need any of it. We talked for 4 hours. The coffee shop staff started giving us looks because we'd been nursing the same drinks forever. She told me about her work as a graphic designer, about losing her mother 2 years ago, about her complicated relationship with her siblings. I told her about my condition, about Marcus, about building a life from pieces. She listened, really listened. Then she said something I'll never forget. You know what I see when I look at you? Someone who got knocked down and found a way to stand back up. That's rare. Most people just stay down and blame the world. We started seeing each other regularly. She never made my condition the focus of our relationship, but she never ignored it either. On my bad days, she'd come over with takeout and we'd watch movies. On good days, we'd find adaptive activities we could do together. She researched places with good accessibility, asked questions about what I needed without making me feel like a burden. She met my parents 6 weeks in. They loved her immediately. My mom pulled me aside later and said something that made me cry. She looks at you the way I always hoped someone would. 2 months into our relationship, I had one of my worst flare-ups in years. 3 days where I could barely move with agony, where I needed help with basic tasks I'm usually too proud to ask for help with. I told Sarah she didn't have to come over, that I'd understand if this was too much. She showed up anyway, helped me without making it weird or pitying, made me laugh when I felt most helpless, stayed with me through the worst of it. That's when I knew this was different. This was real. Around this time, Marcus reached out again, said he wanted to reconnect, that too much time had passed. He suggested dinner at some expensive restaurant downtown, like throwing money at the situation would fix what he'd broken. I agreed to meet him, but not at his choice of place. A casual spot near my apartment. Accessible, affordable. He showed up looking like he always does. Expensive watch, designer clothes, that confident air of someone whose biggest problem is choosing which vacation destination to book next. He asked how I was doing with that carefully casual tone people use when they don't actually want the real answer. I told him I was doing well, told him about Sarah. His reaction was strange. He seemed almost uncomfortable, asked questions that felt more like interrogations. What does she do? Where did she go to school? What does her family do? Like he was trying to find the catch, the reason this couldn't be real. Then he said something that crystallized everything. Just be careful, man. People can take advantage when you're vulnerable. You sure she's not just looking for someone to take care of? Someone safe? I stared at my identical twin brother across the table and realized we weren't identical at all, not in any way that mattered. Marcus, I said, keeping my voice level, when I was at my lowest point, when I needed family most, you told me to figure it out myself. You have money, success, freedom. You can buy anything you want. But you know what you don't have? He looked at me, jaw tight. Someone who sees you clearly and chooses you anyway. Not your salary, not your lifestyle, you. Sarah has seen me at my absolute worst. Days where I can't shower myself, where I'm crying from pain, where I have nothing to offer except who I am. And she's still here. That's something your six-figure salary can't buy. The dinner ended shortly after. I paid for my half, which felt important somehow, and left. I told Sarah about the conversation that night. She was furious on my behalf, which was adorable and validating. Then she said something that hit different. You know what the saddest part is? He's so focused on protecting what he has that he'll never risk anything real. He'll never know what this feels like. He's rich and he's poor at the same time. He was right. Last week, Sarah and I were talking about moving in together. It makes financial sense, sure, but it's more than that. It's building something, planning a future I thought I'd lost. My parents are thrilled. My freelance work is stable enough that I'm contributing equally to expenses. We're looking at accessible apartments with good lighting for her design work and space for my setup on bad days. Marcus sent a text yesterday, just, hey, like nothing happened, like he can drift in and out of my life whenever it's convenient for him. I haven't responded yet. Maybe I won't. Because here's what I've learned through all of this. Marcus has everything society says matters. Money, career, freedom, success, but he's never had to build anything from nothing. Never had to face his own vulnerability and find strength in it. Never had someone love him for who he is when stripped of everything external. My condition took my health and my career, but it gave me clarity. It showed me who matters and who doesn't. It brought me Sarah. It taught me that value isn't measured in salary or ability, but in resilience and connection, and the courage to be seen at your worst. I'm not rich. Some days I still hurt so badly I want to scream. I'll never have Marcus's lifestyle or his retirement portfolio, but I have something he's been chasing his whole life without knowing it. I have someone who sees all of me, the broken parts and the surviving parts, and says, yes, this is exactly who I want. Marcus is my twin. We share DNA. But we're living in completely different worlds now. And for the first time since my diagnosis, I'm genuinely happy with which world is mine. Write what you think about this situation. Also, if you like this video, give a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on the bell to receive notifications about the latest videos. See you next time. Bye-bye.